It's Andrew Kane from Play Connect, and I'm here with Angela Halvorsen Bogo. She has had a career as a storyteller, fool, clown, troubadour, facilitator, coach, and writer. She studied Keith Johnston-inspired improv as a teenager in Northern England. She brought transformational play to organisations, presenters, coaches, leaders, doctors, nurses, and is a specialist in clowning for dementia. And she's also an advanced practitioner of something called social presencing theatre. Wow, what a lot. Angela, welcome.
Hello there. Thank you.
Nice to have you here. Where are you in the world, Angela?
I live in Norway, about a 10-minute drive from the centre of Oslo.
Ah, cool. But you're English originally, is that
Yeah, I'm
right?
English. Yeah, I'm English
Yeah,
by birth. I grew up in Leeds in the north of England,
yeah.
and I've moved around a lot. And the last 16 years, I've been based here in Norway.
Ah, cool. Do you mind me asking what took you there?
Love took me there.
Love. Ah, the best reason. The
Yeah.
best reason.
Although there's a story, my parents in 1947 took a boat to Norway, to Denmark, sorry, that took 2 days, a
Yeah.
little boat, and with about 8 passengers on it or something. And they met a Danish family while they were there. And that Danish family became our family's close friends. And then they came over to visit us. My family went back to Scandinavia before I was born. And when I was 7, my parents took all of us to Norway, Sweden, and Denmark for 3 weeks. And that was the year that Norway had the best weather for 30 years. So it was absolutely spectacular, hot, beautiful. We were camping in the mountains and in the forest, and I was 7-year-old, and it made a massive, massive impression. So growing up, the best place possible to live in the world was Norway, without a doubt. And then I ended up meeting a Norwegian man, getting married, moving here, and starting to live in Norway.
Wow, what an amazing thing. So I know a little bit about your um, life story in improv and clowning and storytelling from some talks that you've done. Um, so maybe we could kind of just sketch in this it's very what a lovely career. Oh, what an amazing story as we look back on it. And the story so far. So you started with improv, is how I understand it. Is that right?
I started with improv when I was
Yeah,
14. There was a
yeah.
lot of really, really good offers in the city where I grew up. And after about 2 years involved in this organization, I then became the secretary, like the administrator of that organization. And it was to create workshops and invite directors and actors to talk to us teenagers interested in theatre and drama. And yeah, so I did a lot of all of that, of organizing and of being immersed in improv itself, and between 14 and 18. And I was
What?
absolutely certain that I was going to be an actor. Yeah.
I'm interested. What drew you to it? It sounds like you had a connection to it.
Yeah, the first time I went to a day of drama, I just felt like this is it. This is a space where I can actually feel and show what I feel, and and um, be with other people who are as they are and feeling what they're feeling and showing it. And that was the opposite of the world that I lived in, in the family that I lived in and the school that I went to and the atmosphere that, the whole world was just the opposite of that. So it was like immediately a space of freedom and connection and presence. Yeah.
Mm. There's a funny thing in improv and various forms of theatre that although there's an audience involved, it gives us sort of a permission to be things that we wouldn't perhaps normally be. I know I've found like kind of playing a character, it's like a way of exploring, oh, I wonder what it's like to be like this.
Yeah.
Mm.
I was thinking,
Cool.
I
Yeah,
was
sorry.
thinking earlier today about one improv exercise that stayed with me for years and years. When I was very young, I don't know, 14, 15 years old. At that time, there was a lot of threat in the world, of the possibility of nuclear war and so on. And we improvised for a day what would happen if it was after a bomb had gone off. And there was a taped area in the room, and the agreement, the game was that we didn't go outside that space, and it was incredibly intense and very, very powerful to feel incredibly intense feelings and not have to hide them or make excuses. Or yeah, it was for me as a teenager, it was really like a probably saved my skin from getting involved in much more dangerous things, because I had a very good, healthy outlet for emotion. Yeah.
Mm. I have this kind of idea, and this is not science, this is just my sort of theory, but like small mammals, like dogs or whatever, will like play fight and stuff, won't they? And they kind of act out the various activities of something with their friends that later they might do when they grow up. They might do it for real. And yeah, there's something about playing that in these kind of scenarios that we get a chance to explore and process and learn implicitly
Yeah.
how to handle different situations in a made up world.
Yeah.
And I think that does carry across, doesn't it?
Yeah. Hopefully I won't ever have to use that particular.
No, 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 a particular one, but then sometimes it's sort of, it might be metaphorically the same. So, for example, um, I don't know, being in a made up, scary scene or improvisation or role play, um, that's the fear is the same as if you're doing something else that's scary, right? Have you seen the film Sing Sing?
No.
Oh, so it's based on Sing Sing prison in New York, and um, a a program there called Rehabilitation Through Arts, and it's all the prisoners there are in the film, which is it's not exactly a documentary, it's a recreation of a real thing. They are like highest category prisoners, often come from very difficult backgrounds, very all men, very um, locked up, very kind of frozen. And yeah, so it's a drama group, and it's about and they're doing drama in this prison, and they write a play and put it on, and yeah, it has great benefits for the like their well-being at the time, but also in terms of their rehabilitation afterwards, like whenever they leave prison. And the actors in the film, many of them were the original people who were in the actual play while they were still in prison. So they've been released from prison now, and now many of them are actors, and they're playing themselves more or less. Um, yeah, but that story there is a lot of them kind of like learning to feel things again, learning to express things again, and I'm not saying a British childhood is the same as being in a maximum security prison, but a mild version maybe. Um, cool. Let's carry on in your story, Angela. So, you did improv at school. A lot of it
Yes.
inspired by Keith Johnston, I think you'd said.
Yeah, and I did
Um,
other things.
yeah,
I was involved. Leeds University has an
yeah,
MA theatre course, and
yeah.
when I was 16, I was involved in a big production that one of the MA students did, and that went to the Edinburgh Students Theatre Festival, and we won. We won the prize, and the prize was a week at the Roundhouse in London to do the show in London.
Oh, cool.
And so when I was 16, I was performing in the Roundhouse, and I got sort of promoted from the first, when we first did it in Leeds, to when we did it in London. I ended up with this part of a dancer because she couldn't do the Roundhouse gig. And the thing was, it was completely naked. So I was dancing naked, covered in makeup. It was a German expressionist strange play, and I was a body that was dying in an explosion. So it was yeah, it was quite a challenge.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, a lot.
I was also
Um,
Gollum. I was Gollum in the world's first musical version of The Hobbit.
no way.
Yeah, yeah. Our school had to write to the, what do you call it, copyright holders of The Hobbit to be able to do it, and in New York. And we got the permission to make this musical. The drama teacher, Cedric Saunders, wrote the script, and the music teacher wrote all the music. And there was, I don't know how many, loads of kids in it. And I was Gollum, this time with my clothes on. And my parents came to see both of these performances. And when I did the one where I was dancing naked, covered in makeup, I asked my dad, "What did you think of it?" And he just said, "I think I liked Gollum better."
I bet he did. Oh, there's an experience for them as well, I'm sure. Um, yeah, well, yeah, cool. I mean, shout out to drama teachers and music teachers
Yeah,
because what a lot they do, and it's kind of a subject area, particularly. I mean, these days it's sort of pushed to one side a lot, isn't it? It's like people know maths and spelling and all of this. But there's such a lot of value in that, and the people who do it, and like your teachers who like they wrote a play, they wrote the music, put it on, got it organized, and I'm sure that many people as well as had similar experiences to you.
yeah. So then I left school and I moved to London the day after I finished school to find my fortune, and expected, because by that point I knew everybody that was doing anything in Leeds, and I thought I'd move to London and it would just be the same. And I discovered it was not the same. And I kind of got a bit stuck down a side road for a year or so, um, while I was kind of arriving in London, and I didn't feel like I was getting anywhere near where I wanted to go. Whereupon I got the offer of a job for the summer in Tuscany in Italy. And so I moved to Tuscany initially just for the summer, but that led to me being there for 5 years. And it led me completely away from theatre. But it did take me into catering with absolute brilliant teachers who could, for instance, if somebody would come through the door of a restaurant and my boss could tell when they walked through the door where they would sit, what they would order to eat, and what they would order to drink, because his knowledge of people was was profound. So I learned a great deal about uh, reading people and holding a hospitable space actually through that work, and that came to be really useful later on. So I had in many years of of doing that kind of work. Then I came back to the UK, and I set up a catering business that was doing events, with the idea, my master plan was that I would do this for a couple of years, and then the enormous income that it would produce would pay for me to go to drama school. Oh, I should backtrack, by the way. When I was 18, I tried to get into drama school, and Leeds Council had decided that year that they would not give a grant to anybody who was doing a pure theatre, music, or dance degree. You had to be doing a teacher's training. And so everything kind of stopped in terms of how I could get funding to go and do what I wanted to do. So hence this sort of, what do you call it, detour. Several years in Italy, came back, set up a business in order to make money to go now to theatre school. And after about a year and a half of this, I was like, oh no, this is going to take me this is going to take me years. I'm going
a lot of sandwiches.
out of here. This isn't what I want. And then a fairy godmother stepped in, and I was able to close up the business, pay off all that I owed, and she gave me enough money to go to the first circus school in England, which is full-time in Bristol. And it had just been open about 6 months. I was part of the second cohort that went. And that was the result of doing, when I came back from Italy, while I was running my catering business, I was discovering, my God, there's so many exciting things you can do. And they even pay you when you're not working, or when all these things are not possible in Italy. So anyway, I ended up at circus school, and discovering clown particularly was my big love. I wasn't so beguiled with circus skills, and I was crap at them. But doing things like trapeze and acrobatics actually transformed my body, became very strong. Yeah, and I learned there was a sort of foundation put in there that I've had all my life physically. And just the approach to performance from a completely trusting place and an embodied place, letting the body do what it wants to do, and instead of the head, suited me extremely well. But clown, of course, is when you first start, for many of us, is terrifying, because it's extremely, extremely exposing. And often when you begin, you're really crap for quite a while. And so I had a lot of that. But I was also bitten by the bug of it. And so I did other courses. I worked with Gaulier for a while, and I worked with Jonathan Kay quite a lot. Yeah, and various other people. And I remember after I worked with Gaulier, I was also crap all the time. And he had his favorites, and they would always get to. Have you worked with him?
No.
Yeah. He has a horrible game that you have to play every day. Oh God. And I was crap at the game. And it's only the people that are good at the game that get then to do the improv exercise. So
wow,
yeah,
rough.
Yeah, it is rough. However,
sorry, yeah, carry on.
I learned an immense amount from him. I learned so much by watching him teach, by watching other people, and by observing my horrendous failures over and over and over again. He had one comment he said to me. He said, I can't do his accent. He said, "You're a very vegetarian clown." Yeah. So anyway,
sorry, yeah, carry on.
What were you going to say?
I'm just interested. Well, there's just this interesting thing around clown training. Like on the one hand, people are learning something very joyful, but then the actual process of learning it, I hear from people who've done it more than me, can be really hard.
Yeah.
And, involve just lots of failing, lots of getting told off, and lots of, yeah, just being a difficult path, often the traditional way it's being taught anyway.
Yeah, and I think that what Gaulier is really, really good at
Mm,
is showing people who want to be clowns that you can't lie to an audience. You can't
mm,
pretend. You can't, it just doesn't work. The audience can see that you're crap when you are
yeah.
crap. And if you want to do it as a profession, unfortunately you do have to know that, because you need to know when you've got to do something else. and
Yeah.
and not you've got to earn the right to be in front of an audience, especially if you're trying to be funny. Yeah. Anyway, so I went away from that. I went back. I was living in Scotland at that point. Went back up to the to Scotland, and I um, digested all of that. And I didn't train. I didn't do a course with anybody else for 8 years, and I integrated and learnt from teaching myself. I also learned from Gaulier how I did not want to teach. So I started to develop my own way of teaching, and I did that by just observing what the effect of everything is. What's the effect of what I say? What's the effect of what I do? What is the effect of what other people do? And how to, with any group, how we can, we're incredibly brilliant and sensitive beings, and we actually can create incredible space between us when we adhere to certain principles. For instance, that we care as much about the others in the group as we do about ourselves. And that you just drop all this stuff, all these stories about great things you've done and blah blah blah. It's just like none of that is relevant. The only thing that's relevant is where we are now and what we're doing now, and if we can show up now without your stories. Yeah, anyway, so that's what I did. So I started to teach and to develop my own work from about 1988, 89 onwards in Scotland. And I was based in Aberdeen for most of that time. And at one point they had these summer, I think they probably still do, these summer shows in all the parks in Aberdeen. And they hire a lot of performers, and every day there's things going on in the parks for children and families. And I did about 100 of these shows. So I actually, yeah, evolved, learned from doing. You just learn from doing over and 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 over again. Learned some horrible, horrible lessons. Would you like to hear one of my horrible lessons?
Go on. This is you as a clown, is that right? You're
There's a-
clowning on the street. Yeah.
I was doing
Yeah.
it with
Yeah.
the first
Yeah. And
year.
and tell us a beautiful one as well. Let's do that. We'll have both.
All right. The first year, I was with my friend M, and we devised two clowns who were very different, Dorothy and Dot. Doris, was it Doris? Doris and Dot. And Dot was the high status one, and Doris was the sweetie. And I was Dot. And I had, as part of my costume, a really big pair like this, of scissors, black scissors. And they were hanging from my belt or something. One day, a group of very little children came to watch the show, and they sat down in a little semicircle on the grass in the park, and they'd got their sandwiches and they'd got their drinks in their little orange cartons of drink, and they were about 3 years old, and I was in a great flow, being this high status nasty Dot, and I took my pair of scissors and I went up to a child and I cut the straw. I cut the straw of the child's drink. So now the other bit of the straw goes into the carton.
Oh, no.
The child can't drink. And the atmosphere died.
Yeah. Because
It
then you're
absolutely
dangerous, right? You've suddenly become the safety's gone, right?
died, the atmosphere. And
Yeah.
another 3-year-old child said in a loud voice, I didn't like that. And I had to, in order for us to proceed, I had to apologize to all of them for what had just happened. They just got carried away and I had to apologize. And then somehow we managed to pick it up. But it was a great lesson. Great lesson. I'll never
So
forget.
what is the lesson that you took from it?
Lots of things to respect the audience,
Hmm.
and um, know it's something about boundaries and knowing what you can and can't do. Being able to feel that before you do it. Like you might have the idea, but not all ideas need to be acted upon. And so there's a sensitivity that has to be learned. So it taught me. Oh, it would be. I mean, there are many. I'm still learning how we can be more and more and more sensitive to this extraordinary relationship that is there between us, whether we're in a group in a workshop or whether we are performers with an audience. It's a sacred space that we've got, and there are things that we do that can crack it, smash it, and there are things that we can do that build it and repair it. Yeah.
I always think like fun and joy, they exist within like a container of the boundaries. You know, the boundaries keep this precious thing safe, like cupping a flame against the wind. And it's it's like those kind of limits, they're not the boring bits. They're like that's what enables all the fun to exist, between different players or between players and audience.
Yeah.
Mm.
So basically, I then am creating my work, and when I was in 1990, actually, I've just backtracked. While I was at circus school, I went to a voice festival in Wales, a women's voice festival, and I heard a woman singing a medieval ballad, and I had never heard anything like it. And that ballad set me off. I wanted to find it because I wanted to sing it. And it took 3 years to find where she'd learnt it. And I eventually found myself, I saw it in a book eventually. There was some music written down. I don't read music. I took it to my musician friend who said, this music is written down in a funny way. I can't play this, which I couldn't understand. Then I took it to another musician. This music is written down in a funny way. I can't play it. So I thought, well, how am I going to get the tune of this song? So I wrote to Penguin Publishers. I wrote to the author via Penguin Publishers, said, I want to learn this tune. That led me eventually to driving to see the man whose stories were in this book. And that was Duncan Williamson, who was a traveller storyteller, Scottish traveller storyteller. And from the day I crossed his threshold, a whole other world opened up, which is traditional storytelling. So I had these two pieces, this theatre, improv theatre, clown side that was developing, and storytelling in an oral tradition. So I was learning from oral traditional storytellers and learning what the storyteller's role is in being the vehicle for the story, not the star. It's the story that's the star. And Duncan used to say, if people remember the story but they forget you, then you've done the perfect job. And I did have that experience at least once. But once met a little girl in another place. You know, it wasn't in the city where I lived. I was in a sort of greenhouse somewhere, and she stopped in the middle of the path and stared at me like this, and I was like, what's she staring at? So I went and spoke to her, and she said, oh no, I'm getting this wrong. That's a different story. Yeah, the story's mingled. I know.
Yeah.
I was telling some stories in a school or something, and a little girl said to me afterwards, I know a story. And I said, oh, what is it? And so she stood and told me the story. And I knew from the story that she told me that it was me that had told this story, but she didn't recognize me.
Great one.
She remembered the story after hearing it once. She retold it beautifully. Yeah.
Did you tell your teacher, was it Duncan, about that?
Well, he wouldn't have been impressed me telling him that.
No.
It was just like, well, so what? That's what you're supposed to do.
Be like, okay, you get a pass. I want to also explore some other themes with you, but am I right? You spent some time in a monastery.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
love to know a little bit more about that, if you don't mind sharing, and how that fits into the.
Let's start that story. Um, it's a long story, but how I ended up there. But basically, I was in Turkey, and a woman kept saying to me where I was working, she said, you must go to the Northumbria community. And I was like, oh. And she said it to me about 12 times. She said, all right, I understand. So I can't even remember if there was internet in those days. I don't even think there was. I can't remember. Somehow I found out, or I had to write to them or something. I didn't know what it was, the Northumbria community. And had planned to be, I was on an overland trip to the Crimea through Eastern Europe and the Ukraine. And it was all on a bus. And when I was coming back, I thought, after all that, I will need a rest. That's when I'll go to the Northumbria community. This might be too long a story. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe I suppose the most interesting thing is maybe like what, if
Basically, I
anything, you
could
took
say
from it.
from the long story,
Mm.
I was really supposed to go to this place. Everything
It
alive.
sounded like it. The way you told it was like, oh,
I
this
was
is like
I
the
thought I
Lord of the
was
Rings or
going,
something.
I thought I was going for a weekend of, this is funny, I thought I was going for a weekend of contemplative prayer, which I
Yes.
thought was some sort of meditation. That's what I
Yeah.
booked. Everything else in their brochure, I didn't understand anything about
Yeah.
what it was. So I booked the contemplative prayer. After coming back from the Ukraine, I went there to go and have my nice weekend's rest, and had my tea. Then I went up to my room to have a little sleep, and I'd just was laid down on the bed when a voice said, "You haven't come here to sleep." And I was like,
Oh.
well, I don't know who you are, but I've just been to the Ukraine and back on a bus, and I think I have come here to sleep. So I ignored it. As soon as I ignored it, there was a desperate knocking on my bedroom door and a voice saying, "We're waiting for you. The session is about to start." Bloody hell, the session? What session? So I was very ill-humoured, went down to see what this session was, expecting maybe we're going to sit and meditate. Nothing like it. There was a man with a lectern who started a lecture, and everybody was there with pen and paper taking notes. There was nothing about contemplative prayer. And I was like, what's going on? What's going on? He said, we're going to have a 5-minute break before I continue. So I went out to look for the brochure that I had clearly seen contemplative prayer for that weekend. And I looked in the brochure and there was no contemplative prayer. Not for like 4 months either side of that day. And then I was like, oh, that's strange. What with the voice up there? That's
Mm.
strange. I better pay attention. So I started actually listening to the guy. And by the end of that, I knew that I wanted to live there. It was like everything he said was like, this is it. This is what I'm about. It was about depth and relationship and the inner life. And it was amazing. So, however, I had spent previously, I should tell you, 10 years trying to escape Aberdeen, and I could fill hours with the stories of my trying to escape Aberdeen. So when this happens, like, oh, I feel like I'm going to move here, I was like, oh, it's just another of these. I'm trying to avoid living where I've been planted. So I won't tell anybody. I decided to keep it secret for a year. I didn't speak to anybody. And it circumstances contrived that a year later, I was living there for the summer. I was recovering from an illness. And at the end of that summer, it was clear to me and clear to everybody there that I was going to move there. So I moved in September. The first day that I was there, I went off. It's near Lindisfarne. So I went off to Lindisfarne and I was enjoying myself. I said, this is the life. I'm now not going to be a performer anymore. Never mind about all that storytelling stuff. Now I'm going to be in the monastery. I'm going to be quiet and hidden. The next day, a man who I'd never met because he'd never been there whenever I'd been there, who was the head of all of the outreach stuff, he said, oh, you're the storyteller. Well, we're so glad that you're here because, and a huge project had been brought to them, which was about storytelling. And they wanted me to be involved. And I was like, oh, no, I'm coming here to do that. But that was actually what I was there for. So I ended up heading up. I was the creative director for 6 years for a massive storytelling project all over England and Wales with a massive budget and a car and all kinds of stuff. So I was based in the monastery, but I was actually traveling, teaching, creating festivals and trainings and all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
How long were you there for at the monastery?
6 years.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm getting a feeling of you following kind of intuition a lot in your life.
Yeah.
Like yeah, like discovering what you're doing as you're going along almost.
Yeah. So when I was at circus school, I first saw that image of the Fool tarot card and began to learn what that is. This learning to surrender. And then in the monastery, of course, it's the same thing. You're learning to surrender. You're learning to not try to control everything, but allow yourself to be led, because the most exciting things actually do happen. Although it's not easy. And a monastery is a horrendously difficult place to live. It's like living in a pressure cooker.
Mm.
Yeah, it's very intense and demanding and beautiful, but it's not a holiday. And everybody, myself included, when I was a visitor, I was like, this is amazing. Just come here, you chill out, everything's laid on, you sit out in the garden, you read a book, it's lovely. And then you move there and you find out who's actually making that possible for these people to come and have a rest. And, uh, for instance, like when there are guests in the house, we would never hoover because we were keeping this. And it's like, it's always so still and lovely here. And people are like, yeah, if you only knew.
Yes. The difference between visiting somewhere on holiday and living there, I
And
guess.
also, I should say that all monastic orders have a kind of order. They have a principle, and
Mm.
the principle of this place is availability and vulnerability, which fit great with impro and with clown. That you are available to God or whatever you call that, to presence, to love, to flow, you're available to it. You're seeking that, and you're vulnerable to that and with other people, open, transparent. So, yeah.
Yeah, I really like there's this theme I'm noticing of being a channel rather than a star. Like you said about storytelling, like it's not about me, it's about the story. And yeah, there can be something just so beautiful in those moments when it doesn't feel like, if I think of my experience, it's not me driving the car. It's like I'm the passenger and something's just happening between
Exactly.
whoever's there.
And it's just an honor to be part of it, And when, as my teaching evolved, I have less and less and less and less and less plan or idea of what we're gonna do, or what's gonna happen. Like I used to have a whole structure. It's a 1 day workshop. I'm gonna do this and this and this and this,
Mm, yeah.
and don't have any of that now. But I do start at the beginning by saying, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what we're gonna do,
There we go. That's the
and
agenda.
that's it.
The agenda is that something will happen,
I mean,
probably.
I remember there was one place that I taught lots. I taught about 20 courses in this place in Birmingham, and I would always get sent this thing. It was a week-long course, and I'd get sent this. Please fill in this form. Session 1, title, content. Session 2,
Oh, I know, yeah.
for however many there were, and I just used to make things up because and people would they come with a piece of paper for session 1, and I'd say, whatever it says on there, I don't know, that might happen. Something else might happen. Because
Mm,
I just, that intelligence that is in us and moving through us when we are seeking and open and curious is way, way cleverer and precise and brilliant in meeting uh, everybody's needs, in meeting and holding everybody, and it's just to allow it to happen.
mm. You mentioned a word there, fooling.
Yeah.
Uh, I think people perhaps probably have an idea what improv is. They probably have sort of an idea what clown is, but I think many people might not really know what fooling is.
Mm.
Could you sort of describe it for people?
Well, for a start off, clown and fool, for me, they blend a little bit. So there's not clear, like, this is the clown and this is the
Mm,
fool. Some people do that, but it's like a little bit overlapping. But really, fool is, for me, the place that we are in when when we feel free and alive and trusting and light and open. And so playing with that, or working with, or understanding the fool, I should say, in a workshop is about how do we get to that place, and how do we get there consciously, that you're not tricked into it, but so that you can feel who you are when you are really yourself, your authentic self, and you feel grounded and you feel like you could do anything, and you feel safe and you feel confident and you're creative. What does it feel like? And the more time you spend in that state in a workshop, the more you start to feel that, the more you understand the mechanism of what you have to undo or stop doing in order to be able to live there more and more. And so for me, this is, you take all the improv stuff that I've been doing now for, I don't know, 50 odd years, and everything that I've learned from all sorts of teachers along the way, including spiritual teachers of different kind, or meditation teachers, or dance teachers, or teachers of creativity, in all sorts. Like, I'll use anything that helps to, in a toolbox that helps us to find that place and rest in it and trust it, because there, then everybody's magnificent, everybody's amazing, and everybody can find their own next steps. They're connected with their inner compass. So as a result of this work, often people are here afterwards, people make big decisions afterwards because they found all that fogginess and confusion. They're not in that place anymore. They're in the place that knows. And it's not me or anybody else that tells them. They know what they want and what they need. And yeah. And then
I've always, sorry.
No, I should just say all the work. I haven't talked about the voice, but all the singing that I also learned along the way. I learned traditional singing, and many forms of singing where we're singing from our guts and our heart, and it's not pretty voices like this, but really an embodied voice. And so all of that also is part of the work, working with the voice. Yeah.
I often feel that meditation teachers, creative people who teach art, and I don't know, like dancing and so on, will often kind of be pointing towards the similar thing of a selflessness that leads to a flow or a greater intelligence or a creative flow. Always feels to me like all these different things, they sort of point, they're different paths up a mountain, but there's something about them that makes it the same mountain in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's many doorways or pointers. In fact, in meditation teaching, they call them pointers. The thing that I'm saying is not the thing; it's pointing to the thing.
Yes.
And in our work, it's we play our way into this place. It's like an easy path once we can allow ourselves. Once we can allow ourselves to let go a little and allow ourselves to fail, allow ourselves to get it wrong. It doesn't matter. Once you get beyond the thing of you've got to do everything right, there's a huge amount that can happen then. We sort of we get disentangled from a lot of internal messaging that we must be perfect, we must get it right straight away. All of that stuff starts to dissolve. Then we get
Right. They kind
easier.
of sort of have the idea that we have to know what's going to happen before we do it. I feel like that's kind of a deep sort of learning that many of us have taken, and undoing that takes practice.
Oh, I'd like to say at this point that one of the reasons why theatre made such an impact when I was a teenager at 14 was I was really seriously losing interest in school because there was so much pressure and so much homework, and it was beyond me. I was deadly uninterested. And I, just over a year ago, finally got a diagnosis of ADHD. And now I understand why I didn't want to do that stuff. So I luckily avoided forcing myself into the education system for very long. As soon as I could get out, I got out. So I didn't train, that side of the brain, whichever it is, which is very theoretical and mental. Mine didn't get a lot of training. So I'm trained more in the other bit. And I love it when people can come out with brilliant things to say and so on. And even in the work that I do, people sometimes ask questions to me. I don't have any answer, but somebody in the group does. Inevitably, somebody else has a clever answer or a wise answer. So I think that it's a benefit of being neurodiverse. There's a great benefit in where we are oriented in our brains, where we live happily, where we thrive, is of great use to other people when we find the right channel to express it.
Mm. And how does this show up in how it helps organizations that you've worked with? Like, I know you've done some work bringing play to organizations, and
Yeah.
people often think, well, work is the opposite to play, and then like mutually exclusive. But there's a place, right, where bringing that state of mind can be the most useful thing for people to be doing.
It absolutely is.
Yeah,
The biggest challenge is to get in the door,
yeah,
because somebody with my background and credentials, you just don't stand a chance. They don't want anything to do with people like us. So I worked with, I was doing some teaching at a conference, and somebody there, straight after the workshop I did, said, he didn't even say, have you worked in organizations? He said, do you want to work in organizations? I said, yeah. And so I began working with this consultancy company in Italy, and they had the credibility to get in the door. And I discovered that I've got a particular skill set which is especially useful um, when an organization, well, you're not working with an organization, you're usually working with a group of people within an organization. When a group of people are stuck and they have to make some kind of change, and it's scary, it's frightening, nobody knows quite how to do it or what the implications for their livelihood are going to be. So organizations are serious places of work, and they they want to do a process that's actually going to work, and to do a process that's going to work, people have to feel safe. So I'm very good at that. I can make any group of people feel safe, and I can lighten the atmosphere very quickly, and I can make it possible through play for people. Here's an example. There was an organization who there was going to be a reshuffle, and that means that people who've been in particular jobs and situations, in the reshuffle, they don't know where they're going to end up, and it might be that their boss is now going to be under them, or all sorts of things that are like, oh God, what's going to happen? That was the situation. And yet the whole group of people, there was about 100 of them, they had to do some serious planning work with this thing hanging over them about what was about to happen, which those days that we were together, it was not going to be addressed. So we were anticipating, the company was anticipating a great deal of tension and people blocking and uncertain because they didn't know what was going to happen with their jobs and so on. So my job was to deal with that. So I created two games, and the second one was a game. It was a game of where you go up to people, basically say, what if you're my boss? What if you're in my team now? What if you're, and we played it. So for about 15 minutes, we played all their worst nightmares as a game. And it just lifted it all up. It was all up and out in the air. Everybody knows this is what's going on. We let it out, and they were screaming with laughter at the end of it, because it's like, yeah, and we can't do anything, we don't know. So now let's get on with it. So in organization, what I learned there is to understand what is the problem, what's the problem that the people have, and then co-designing with people with relevant skills something that helps that group of people right now. If you come with some wafty idea, and I've had many conversations with other people that do similar work to us, oh, it would be great if we could just go in and get everybody. It's got to be really practical and useful. Yeah.
yeah. And that moment of you taking this fear that was in the atmosphere and just plonking it kind of on the table. It's like, right, it's like the elephant in the room, isn't it? Right, let's just get all the elephants in the room, name them all, and then be laughing about them.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
that's a huge shift in
Because
that from it to be.
it can be an elephant in the room can be. I also saw this from the head of a very famous company that I was in a room with, and I couldn't believe how insensitive and cruel this man was. What he
Mm,
did to his employees publicly was unbelievable, unbelievable, so horrible. And because people are scared for their jobs, it's their livelihood.
yeah, right.
And
And you
so,
can't expect people to be creative
no.
and come up with good solutions and work together when they're tense and scared and there's a lot hanging in the air.
So I feel like people of our experience have a massive amount to offer into all
Mm,
kinds of areas. And it requires humility to understand that world, to understand and be really like a student listening. Because when I began doing that work, I didn't understand the conversations. I didn't
mm,
understand
yeah,
what they were talking about. I would have to ask for interpretations. I was like, this is
yeah.
it's another language. So if you are an improviser and you've got a corporate background, you're a little bit easier because you understand a bit the world that they work with. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. And am I right? You have a lot of it sort of expertise in clown with people with dementia.
yeah.
Oh, right. I'd love to hear
Uh,
about that. I know people often use improv with people with dementia, and we'd love to hear, what you do, what your experience of that.
yes. So I think it's about 50, I have about 15 years experience with this work now. And um, it's a very, very specialized and very beautiful place to work. Completely amazing. Um, so people with dementia are like other people. They're all different and they have found themselves with a disease that means by the time people like me work with them, they are in a residential home. They won't be leaving. It's and they might be there for weeks or months or years. And um, the staffing of those places means that people are often alone. There are usually not enough people to just sit with people or be with them. That varies, of course. And their relatives are seeing their mother, father, whoever it is, changing dramatically, and that is a very scary process for them. So people with dementia are often disoriented with people who are scared or worried or don't know how to be with them easily anymore, or they don't have any visitors, and they are sitting, primarily sitting for many, many hours a day in, day out, weeks, months, years, and often just watching television. Many activities they can't put as they get more and more sick. There are many things that they can't do anymore. They can't go to a concert anymore. They can't, there's a lot of things they can't do. So our type of clowning is has learned to meet people with dementia exactly where they are and to make them the star of the moment. So it isn't that we come with a performance, a show that they watch and they clap us. Rather, we are, as clowns, we're the idiots, we're the ones that are. The people with dementia have got so many things taken away from them. They've got so much no around them. And
Mm,
we come in and we're lower than them, if you like, in terms of status.
mhm.
And we lift them up as much as we can. And we have many languages because we can speak, we can sing, we can move, we can speak their gobbledygook language if they don't have language anymore. We can breathe with people. We can do all sorts of stuff. And so we're not restricted, as a normal human being is, to sit down next to the person and just talk to them.
Yeah.
We can do a lot more, and we do. And it's all in relationship, reading the person that's there second by second. Is this too much? Am I too close? Oh, you like that? We do it again. Following the flow of what their desires are.
Would this be with just one person, or is there a group of people normally?
So we are two clowns, and we go into a ward, and on that ward there'll be, maybe you might meet people in the corridor who are on their own. You might meet people in their rooms who are on their own, or you might meet people who are sitting in sort of living room situation, or moving between all of those.
So you're kind of circulating around.
We're circulating it. We're wandering around like a cat that's wandered in. And
how wonderful.
And we use a lot of music and singing and whatever. It can be so many different things. It can be so many different things. It's everything from the completely stupid to completely sublime.
Yeah.
And what I've discovered, one of the things I've discovered, is how beautiful old people are. How beautiful. It's like so much ego has vanished. So much, they're just there. And a bit like a clown is, the clown is just there. And so it's an easy meeting. It's just like we're just there. We don't need to know much else. We can just be and play, meet. There's a lot of love very often in those meetings.
And I know you also use something called social presencing theatre, as I think it is. No, I think you call it social presencing meditation.
Yes.
Would you be able to explain a little bit what that is and how it?
I can say a bit. There's a lot online. If you look at social presencing theatre, you'll see the founders of it explaining. Social presencing theatre is a part of a wider systems change process called Theory U, and I learned about this when I was working in organisations. Social presencing theatre is a little bit of a confusing misnomer. Social means it's about who we are as groups in connection. Presencing is that it's like what is actually there, what's present between us. And the theatre, the old meaning of the word theatre, simply meant where something important is happening. So
people might talk about, in wartime, they would talk about the European theatre, which then meant where the armies were fighting, for example.
So it's what is important that's happening between us could be a way of describing social presencing theatre. And the way that it's useful in groups is because when we just talk, I think we should do this, well, I think we should do that, we're not including the body, and the body knows a lot. The body is, as in all the other things that we've been talking about earlier, the body is like a radio receiver. It's receiving and emitting information all the time. So the social presencing theatre is working with this part of our apparatus. And so there are various different exercises that are used for different things. One is a sort of a meditation practice which helps us to just arrive in our bodies in the moment. It's very simple, and it involves movement. People move in their own way. They're following the signals of their own body. and becoming integrated with the body with awareness. It's a mindfulness practice. And then there's a practice which is for when we're stuck, when I am stuck with something, when the organization or my team is stuck, or there's a process for that. There are various ways of creating with it, and there is something a little bit similar to family constellations. There's a constellation process which is called a 4D map, where there's a problem and different people are playing aspects of that problem and we are witnessing it. So that is that's a very brief overview of social presencing theatre. And I use some of the exercises in my teaching because it's so simple and clear. Anybody can do it. We get to be present with one another really fast. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Oh, I feel like we've covered a lot of ground here, Angela. That's awesome. As we're recording this, you're also cooking something up, I believe. This is March 2025. Do you want to tell us what you've got in the pipeline, if anyone's interested, and how they can follow it up with you?
Yeah. So I'm cooking up basically a gathering of some people that like to play and improvise in the beautiful, medieval, gorgeous city of Ghent in Belgium during the Ghent festivals. It's a 10-day period in July, and we will be there for about a week. And we're going to play in an improvised way as though we are troubadours or fools in the street. And I've been to Ghent many times, and last year I went with a couple of people to just try a few things out. It's a great place to play because everybody there is there to enjoy themselves. They've gone to the festival, they want to enjoy themselves, they're up for it. There's no traffic going through the middle of the city. It's very beautiful. There's a river, there are extremely lovely old buildings. There are lots of things going on. And so we're going to see what happens when we show up there. And last year we all had lovely costumes that were like kind of hat. I haven't got the whole thing here, but the colors are this kind of blue and this kind of yellow. And so what we discovered was by wearing these lovely colors, pretty costumes in the street, we didn't have to do anything and something would happen. We didn't have to do anything. We could do so little, and already something was emanating and vibrating around. And because this is such a historic old city and everybody's in a good mood because of the festival, we kind of slide in from some timeless state. What we're wearing doesn't look like it belongs in any particular time. It looks a bit timeless. And so we did a lot of different things. Now, this year, there will be more of us. Maybe it's you who are watching this. But how would you know if you would like this? Well, I'm doing a number of free online events through the spring. And so you can come and play online. The first Thursday of every month, there's a free play session, a full play session. So we talked earlier about how do you access this state? How do you get there? And how do you get there quickly? And how can we help each other get there? So that we are enjoying ourselves, we're in the present moment, and we're watching to see what emerges. Because when we're in that state and we are surrounded by people and we're in a public place, there is so many invitations happening. There's so many things to pick up on, and we can just find, there's something there, we follow that. and we make bigger or make more visible the something that is appearing there. So we don't have to have a show. We don't have to know anything. We just have to come with the right spirit, like a very generous and humble spirit. Yeah, so doing online things, I'm doing online storytelling, a bit like what we're doing here, explaining what it is, what the roots of the fool are. The fool, the word the fool used to mean humble. It wasn't about stupid, and it wasn't about being a court jester. It was about humility. And especially in the Middle Ages, fool was defined as one simple enough that the spirit divine could easily enter. And in our language, we might say somebody simple enough that they're authentic, or they're in flow, or that they're trustworthy. You can see that there's something good there, and you were not going to be tricked or abused in any way. Something what's the word I'm looking for? Something good and
Straightforward.
good and straightforward, and you can take it or leave it,
Yeah.
And then
So you've got sorry, yeah. So you've got the fooling session, the play sessions.
play
I believe
sessions.
there's some meditation sessions
Yeah,
as
then
well.
there's
Is that right?
meditation sessions with this social presencing, what I call social presencing meditation.
Yeah.
That's on the middle Monday. The next one is the 14th of April. Maybe we can put some links for these things.
I will put links to all of this. Yeah.
And then if you're in the UK, well, indeed, wherever you are, in Leeds, in the north of England, in my home city,
Which is a very nice city to visit as well, if people haven't been.
Yeah, it is a nice city. And
Yeah, it is nice.
in the middle of May, the 10th and 11th of May, I'm going to do a weekend, which will be an introduction to how I work and how we will work and how we will make what we can make between us. And some of those people may choose to come to Ghent also, but because we'll be explaining some of the mechanisms that I think we might use when we're in Ghent. And when we are in Ghent, we'll be having workshops, and we'll be doing this meditation practice, and we'll be doing whatever we need to keep safe and happy together. And we found a place where we can stay together, and it's kind of unfolding bit by bit.
Beautiful. So there's some online classes. There's a weekend in May in Leeds, and there's it's about a week, isn't it? You're planning in Ghent for the festival, which is in July. Is that right?
July. The festival opens on the evening of the 18th of July, but we are going 2 days early. We're going to do that first. We're going to get ready first. There will also be, I should say, this is a news thing, and I don't have all the info yet, but on the 1st of April, the tickets for the Ghent event will go online, and we might be doing some fun things on the 1st of April, because April Fool's Day is our day as fools. It's our day. And yeah, it used to be a week-long festival. For nearly 300 years it was a festival, and all we've been left is like half a day where you play tricks on people. But we have to reclaim April Fool's Day and make it something fabulous again. So if you're watching this before April Fool's Day 2025, then get in touch or look at the link, whatever link we'll put below.
The basic links nearby. Well, Angela, this has been fabulous. Thank you so much for joining. Is there anything that we haven't touched upon that you feel that we should?
Oh, I'm always coming up with different things. I have a website, and I'm on Facebook, and you can see those things emerging as they appear.
Yeah, and in our broader conversation, anything we've missed out? You're like, oh, I really want to share about this, how this connects to that, or it doesn't have to be.
I'll probably remember in about 5 minutes.
Well, that will be good for the next time.
Yeah. I would love, I would really like to hear your thoughts on all of this. And
Yeah.
in fact, you as in Andrew, and anybody who's watching it, I'd love to interact with people. I think that I think that we're in a time where we need to work together to build our work because the world really needs it. Yeah.
Cool. Well, Angela, thanks very much.